My son came home with a drawing that stopped my heart. When I asked him who the baby was, he said, "Daddy's other baby, mommy, the one that grandma said just born." He was 6 years old. He had drawn 4 people, himself, his father, me, and a baby. We do not have a baby. I asked him who the baby was. He looked up at me with the clearest, most innocent eyes and said, "Daddy's other baby, mommy, the one grandma said just born." Then he went back to coloring. He did not understand what he had just done. He did not understand that in 11 words, he had dismantled 11 years of my life. My name is Adayeze Okonkwo Briggs. I am 43 years old. I live in Lekki Phase 1, Lagos, in a house my husband Chidi and I built together over 7 years of savings, sacrifice, and what I believed was a shared dream. I am a senior compliance officer at a Tier 1 bank on Victoria Island. I leave the house at 6:30 every morning and return by 7 in the evening. I have done this for 9 years. I built my career carefully, promotion by promotion, because Chidi and I agreed early in our marriage that we were building something together, that my salary and his salary were both going into the same future. Chidi is 47. He runs an import business, electronics, spare parts, from a warehouse in Apapa, or so I believed. We have one child together, Tobena, 6 years old, the kind of child who talks too much, laughs too easily, and notices everything. That last part turned out to matter more than I knew. It started 3 months before the drawing. I noticed Chidi's mother, Mama Okonkwo, was calling him more than usual. This is a woman who calls once a week on Sundays like clockwork. Suddenly, she was calling on Tuesdays, on Thursdays, sometimes twice in one day. And Chidi would take those calls in the bedroom with the door closed. I noticed. I said nothing. I noticed that he started traveling to Onitsha for business more frequently. Once a month became twice a month. Then twice a month became every other week. He always had a reason. Cargo delays, supplier meetings, port issues. I noticed. I said nothing. I noticed that he bought a second phone, a small one, simple, that he kept in the inside pocket of his agbada, rather than in his trouser pocket where his main phone lived. When I asked about it, he said it was a work line for the Onitsha suppliers, who preferred a local number. I noticed. I almost said something, but I let it go. This is what we do sometimes. We notice things that disturb us, and we choose not to pull the thread because we are afraid of what unravels. I was afraid. I had given 11 years to this man. I had given him my best working hours, my salary going into a joint account he managed because it was more efficient, my body, my loyalty, my one child. I was afraid of what pulling the thread would show me. So I did not pull it. My 6-year-old son pulled it for me. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October. I had left work early, a rare thing, because Tobena's school had a half-day for a teacher's development program. I picked him up myself, which I almost never get to do. His face when he saw me at the gate instead of the driver was worth everything. "Mommy came herself," he announced to his friend standing next to him, as if this were major breaking news. In the car, he talked without stopping, about his teacher, about a boy who ate a crayon, about the drawing competition they had done that morning, where the teacher asked everyone to draw their family. "I drew you and Daddy and me," he said cheerfully, "and the baby." I was navigating the Lekki expressway traffic, half listening, the way you do when a 6-year-old is talking. "What baby, Toby?" "Daddy's other baby, Mommy, the one Grandma said just born." The car behind me honked. The traffic had moved and I had not. I drove forward slowly. "Tobena," I kept my voice completely even. "Where did you hear about this baby?" He looked up at me with the clearest, most innocent eyes and said, "Daddy's other baby, Mommy, the one Grandma said just born." Then he went back to coloring. He did not understand what he had just done. He did not understand that in 11 words, he had dismantled 11 years of my life. That evening, I did not confront Chidi. I know some people would have. Some people would have put the drawing on the table the moment he walked in and watched his face. But I am a compliance officer. I investigate for a living. I know that the first move is not the confrontation. The first move is the evidence. I waited. Chidi came home at 8, smelling of the road, cheerful the way he is when things are going well for him. He greeted Tobena loudly, swung him in the air, asked about school. He kissed my cheek. "You are quiet," he said, settling into his chair. "Tired," I replied. He accepted that. He always accepts that. A tired wife is a convenient wife. She does not ask questions. After Tobena was in bed, I sat in the kitchen with a cup of tea I did not drink, and I made a list in my head of everything I knew and everything I needed to find out. What I knew. His mother knew about a baby. The baby was born last week. The mother was fine. I was not supposed to hear. What I needed to find out. Who the mother was, where she was, how long this had been going on, and whether our money was funding it. That last part that made my hands tremble around the cup. Because our money, the joint account he managed because it was more efficient, was my money too. 9 years of my salary, flowing in every month, and if he had been maintaining another woman, another pregnancy, another life with money that was partly mine. I put the cup down. I needed to be strategic. The next morning, I called my younger sister Nkechi, who is a lawyer in Abuja. "I need you to listen carefully to me, and I need you not to panic," I said when she picked up. "Adainze, what happened?" I told her everything. The phone calls, the second phone, the Onitsha trips, and Tobena's drawing, and those 5 words from Mama Okonko's phone call that my son accidentally carried home in his school bag. Adainze must never hear. Nkechi was silent for a long moment. "How long do you think this has been going on?" she asked finally. "The trips to Onitsha started about 18 months ago," I said. "If the baby was just born last week, the pregnancy was 9 months, so at minimum 2 years. And the joint account? That is what I need to find out." Adainze, her voice was careful and firm. "Before you confront him or do anything visible, get your name off that account, or at minimum, move your salary payment to a personal account immediately." "I know," I said. "And get the last 3 years of statements, everything that went out." "I know, Nkechi." "Do you have a good lawyer in Lagos?" "I am about to find one." I hung up and went to work. I spent my lunch break in the office of Barrister Fumi Adeyemi on Adeola Odeku Street, a woman Nkechi had recommended, sharp and no nonsense, the kind of lawyer who looks at you like she has already seen your situation 14 times and knows exactly what to do. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked one question. "Do you want to save the marriage or protect yourself?" I thought about it honestly. "Protect myself," I said, "and my son." She nodded slowly. "Then here is what we are going to do." Over the next 2 weeks, I moved carefully. I redirected my salary to a personal account I opened at a different bank. I requested 3 years of statements from the joint account. I hired a private investigator, a quiet, unremarkable man called Mr. Daike, who Barrister Fumi had used before, to find out what was in Onitsha. I went home every evening and made dinner and helped Tubena with his reading practice and asked Chidi about his day and listened to him talk about cargo and suppliers and port delays. I smiled at the right moments. I said goodnight at the right time. I lay in the bed we had shared for 11 years and stared at the ceiling and waited. Mr. Daike called me 12 days after I hired him. "Madam," he said, "I have everything." I want to pause here and ask you something honestly. If you were in my position, if you had already gathered the evidence, already spoken to a lawyer, already moved your money to safety, and your husband was lying next to you in bed that night, completely unaware, what would you do first? Would you confront him immediately and watch his face? Or would you wait until every piece was in place before you moved? Tell me in the comments. I really want to know. Mr. Daike sent me photographs. A house in Onitsha GRA, a proper house, not a rented flat. A house with a painted fence and a generator and a car in the compound. A woman, 29 years old, pretty in the way that is immediately obvious, standing in the compound holding a newborn. And in 2 of the photographs, Chidi's car, parked in front of that house. In 3 of the photographs, Chidi himself, walking through that gate as if he lived there, because he did. Mr. Daike's report was thorough. The house had been purchased 18 months ago, registered in the woman's name, a woman called Chisom Eze.
The purchase price was 45 million naira, roughly $30,000. 45 million naira. I looked at the joint account statements. 18 months ago, 45 million naira had left the account in 3 tranches, described as business capital injection. My money, my 9 years of monthly salary deposits, used to buy a house for another woman and the child she was carrying with my husband. I sat in Barrister Fumi's office and looked at those photographs and those bank statements, and I felt something happen inside me that was not anger, not quite. It was colder than anger. It was clarity. 11 years, 1 child, 1 joint account he managed because it was more efficient, and his mother knew, had known, had covered it, had watched me come to that house for Christmas every year, and had sat across the table from me and called me Nwam, my daughter, and had known. Adaze must never hear. I called Mama Okonkwo on a Saturday morning when Chidi had gone to the market with Tobena. She picked up on the second ring, warm and familiar. Adaze, my daughter, how are you? How is Tobena? Mama, I said, I know about Chisom. I know about the baby. I know about the house in Onitsha GRA. I know about the 45 million. Silence. Long, complete silence. My daughter, I am not your daughter, I said quietly. You have been lying to my face for 2 years. You attended my son's birthday party in this house 8 months ago, and you sat at my table and you knew. Adaze, these things are complicated. A man. I am not interested in the explanation, I said. I am calling to tell you that I know, and that Chidi will know that I know before the end of today. I heard her sharp intake of breath. Please, she said, and her voice changed completely. The warmth gone, something thinner underneath. Please, think about this carefully. Think about Tobena. Think about your marriage. You have a good life. I had a good life, I said. Goodbye, Mama. I hung up. My hands were completely steady. Chidi returned from the market at noon, Tobena running ahead of him, carrying a bag of groundnuts, chattering about something he had seen at the market. I let Tobena come to me, hugged him, told him to go and watch his cartoon in his room. Then I placed the folder on the kitchen table. Photographs, bank statements, Mr. Daike's report, Barrister Fumi's preliminary filing for separation of assets, all of it neatly arranged. Chidi looked at the folder, then at me. He knew immediately. I could see it in the way his body changed, something leaving it, some performance ending. Adaze, sit down, I said. He sat. Her name is Chisom Eze. She is 29. She lives in the house you bought for her in Onitsha GRA 18 months ago for 45 million naira. She gave birth to your son 11 days ago. Your mother has been aware since the beginning. The money came from our joint account. Each sentence landed. I watched them land. I can explain. You cannot explain 45 million naira, Chidi. Silence. How did you find out? And this is the part I want you to hear. Our son drew a picture at school. His teacher asked everyone to draw their family. Tobena drew himself, me, you, and a baby. When I asked him who the baby was, he said, Daddy's other baby, the one Mama said just born. Chidi closed his eyes. He is 6 years old, I said. He heard his grandmother on the phone and he carried it home in a school drawing because he is 6 years old and he does not yet know that some things are secrets. The silence in that kitchen was the loudest thing I have ever heard. Adaze, I am sorry. I know that means nothing right now. You are right. It means nothing right now. I stood. Barrister Fumi Adeyemi will be in contact with you this week. I need you to move out of this house before the end of the month. I will not be the one to leave. This house has my name on the title and I will not be leaving. His head came up. Adaze, let us talk about this. For Tobena, do not use my son's name to ask me for anything right now. My voice was still quiet, completely steady. You can be his father. I will never take that from him, but you will not be my husband, not after this. I picked up my folder and walked out of the kitchen. Chidi moved out 3 weeks later. He did not fight me on the house. Perhaps he understood that fighting me on the house, a house partly funded by my salary, with my name already on the title, with Barrister Fumi waiting on the other side of that argument, was a fight he would not win. The joint account was frozen by court order while the asset investigation proceeded. What Mr. Daike's report showed, and what Barrister Fumi argued before the judge, was that over 3 years, 67 million naira had left our joint account for purposes that had nothing to do with our household or our shared future. The Onitsha house, a car registered in Chisom's name, monthly transfers to an account in her name, hospital bills from a private clinic in Onitsha. My money paying for another woman's prenatal care. The judge, a woman in her late 50s who reviewed the evidence with the expression of someone who had seen this particular story before, ruled in my favor on the asset recovery. Chidi would repay half of the misappropriated funds from his business assets, the Apapa warehouse, the fleet of trucks, the things he had built partly with capital from our joint account. It will take years to recover fully, but it would recover. As for Mama Okonkwo, she called me 4 times after our phone conversation. I did not answer. She sent a message through her youngest son, Emeka, who had the grace to be embarrassed. My mother wants you to know she is sorry, she said. She tried to stop Chidi at the beginning, but he wouldn't listen. Tell your mother, I replied, that I believe that as much as I believe anything she has ever said to me. Emeka looked at the floor. I'm sorry, Adaze. What happened to you was wrong.
It was the only apology from that family that was worth anything. It has been 14 months now. Tobena knows that Mommy and Daddy do not live together anymore. We explained it the way you explain things to a 6-year-old. Carefully, simply, without weaponizing it. He sees his father every other weekend. He has adjusted the way children adjust, which is to say, better than adults do, and also more deeply than they show. His therapist says he is doing well. I am doing well. I went back to work the Monday after Chidi moved out. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and did my job, because that is what I have always done. I built something with my own hands once, and I will build it again. The house is mine, my salary is mine, my name is on everything that matters. And Tobena, my son who talks too much and notices everything, brought me a drawing last week from school. This time, the teacher asked them to draw something that makes them happy. He drew me and him. Me with my work bag, him with his football, both of us smiling. No missing details, no babies that should not be there. Just his mother and him taking up the whole page. I put it on the refrigerator. There is something nobody tells you about betrayal of this kind. The kind that comes dressed as a good marriage, a cooperative husband, a supportive mother-in-law, an efficient joint account. It does not announce itself. It builds quietly in the spaces you trusted most, in the bedroom door closing for a phone call, in the business trips that make sense because your husband does have a business, in the mother-in-law's warmth that you always thought was genuine. It lives in the ordinary, and it is only dismantled by the extraordinary, by a 6-year-old boy with a crayon and no understanding of secrets, drawing his whole world on a piece of paper and handing it to his mother. Tobena did not save me dramatically. He just told the truth, the way children do when nobody has yet taught them not to. If this story reached you today, tell me in the comments which city you are watching from and what time it is there. I love knowing which corner of the world is keeping me company tonight. If it moved you, support me through Super Thanks. It keeps these stories coming and it means more than I can say. I have put 2 more stories on the screen right now, just as gripping. Click one and let us keep spending this time together. With love and with gratitude, see you in the next story.